Hello, Joe. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Holy cow. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are
Good.
you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Now that I got my tech issues out of the way and my mic's working, I mean, it's lovely.
Okay, I've been there. So restart is my first bit of advice.
Yeah, it was leave it and then come back and hey, it worked. So
I've done that so many times. I don't know why it works, but it does, and
yeah.
I hope it always does.
Well, thank you for taking time. I know that you are so busy right now with everything, your release of Graham and with everything that's coming up in New Orleans. So taking time to sit down with me tonight, I really, really, really appreciate it. And I wanted to thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, should we dive right into questions or
I don't know.
or taking stage directions from Joe? And he's just like, I don't know. Oh, hey, okay. I'm going to go a little bit off script here. I have kind of a personal question I want to ask you. Hopefully I don't give Jamie a heart attack. Are you ready?
Okay.
Whatever happened to Figgy Smalls?
There's Figgy's thriving and surviving. Figgy is styling and profiling. I haven't had a chance to do anything but water that thirsty little guy. He's there. He's really doing great, actually. So it's very lopsided. I don't know how the center of that plant is ever going to return to life, but I'm happy to share proof of life of the old fixtures when I get a chance.
Yeah. I was talking to someone the other day. I'm like, where's Joe's plant? Like, we've been seeing the skull and like all this other stuff. I was like, whatever happened to the plant? Did the plant die? So good. No, he didn't die. He's still alive. That's awesome.
No, he's doing great. And yeah, I watched it. There was one brief moment in my TikTok tenure where I was directed toward like plant talk. And there was one video that I watched more times than I care to admit where this gentleman teaches horticulture and he just grabbed this fiddly fig from the center of it and shook the shit out of it.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, he was like, they really love a thorough shaking. And I was like, I guess I'll try that. So I have shaken this fig a couple of times now too.
Well, it's working, obviously, if he's still thriving. So that's great.
Yeah. I'll see if I can put some brilliant piece of content together that involves me talking to a plant before too long. Maybe I'll read him parts of Grimm, or I know last spooky season he had some pumpkin friends, and so maybe my skulls will come over and they'll all do a little slumber party. I don't know. Look, the ideas are already starting to percolate.
I know, they're all excited. Well, I figured it was a good like icebreaker. I thought about the plant. I said, what happened to that plant? So
why would you think that was a good icebreaker? If you have no idea whether or not the plant died, I could have eaten it. I could have forgotten about it. There are any number of reasons that could have gone sideways so early.
I know. I was warned about that as well. Like people are like, you don't know. Like what Ava, my daughter, she goes, maybe it was like a family plant. It belonged to his grandpa and his grandpa's like not with him anymore and you're going to make him cry. I was like, this is a good point, but I'm going to lead with it anyways and hope for the best. So, hey, it was the best scenario. I mean, the plant's alive. He's doing good.
Yes. If people have written stories and created songs and did a contest to name the plants, I believe I owe it to the world, if I may be so bold, to keep it healthy.
Yeah.
So
agreed. Well, all right. We have a whole bunch of questions that I've prepared for you this evening to kind of dive into your career and Graham and talk about Losing Neverland. So I'm going to jump right into it. Otherwise, we could be here for a very long time.
Okay.
So we're going to start off in the beginning, basically. You've been performing since you were 2 years old, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. And you earned your SAG card by the time you were 4, I read, which is amazing.
I believe that's correct. I think it's actually 3.
3?
I think it was 3.5.
Wow.
Who's counting?
Who's counting? So
my mom and dad, they were counting.
Yeah, most likely. So do you remember your first performances?
I do. Yeah. I did a commercial for chocolate chips, and I just got to eat chocolate chips for 2 days.
That sounds amazing.
And And then the other one I don't remember, but I remember seeing it because it was on my dad had taped like Star Wars Ewok Battle for Endor on something. And so we were watching the tape of it, and then there was as a facial tissues. I think I could say the brand name. It was a Kleenex commercial. And in that one, I did not speak in either one of these, but I was featured, and that was enough to warrant giving a toddler a union membership. So
Wow.
I joined, and yeah.
Chocolate chip cookies and Kleenex. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So
there's one of them is, I think you can find it somewhere, and I saw it once, and there was like, that's like somebody in the comments was like, I'll bet the cute kid in this video is like a meth addict now or something. I wanted to respond and be like, nope, doing okay.
Doing great.
Hanging in there.
Do not turn to drugs. Oh, good Lord. Gotta love those internet trolls. Oh, man. So, but you performed your first audiobook when you were 12 years old.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
So how do you think that might have paved your way for later in life becoming an audiobook narrator?
And this is going to sound weird, but in some ways I'd actually kind of forgotten about it when I came back around to audiobooks. Mostly because I had just done so much with reading and acting that was so different than that in my life in the time in between those periods. And yeah, so it was, then I remembered, and then I was like, oh, I should put that back on my resume and be like, look, I've been doing this for a while or something. But it was, I think it's really challenging to talk about the industry sometimes because you never want to sound ungrateful, but the fact is that like working on certain sets and working in certain situations is just like, it can be just like any other job and any kind of dynamic. Like some places are really great to work and others are not. I read an interview with a guy, Tom, whose last name I cannot pronounce effectively. Felendi. He's partners with Kaylee Cuoco. And he did Ozark with Jason Bateman. And he was talking to Jason about how the set, he was like, you've ruined me for other shows because this experience has been so incredibly wonderful. I've just loved every part of this process. And I feel like it's a credit to you and Laura Linney, and the showrunner and the director that just has created this incredible environment here on this set. And Jason said to Tom, he's like, well, why don't you take this with you? And I thought it was a beautiful moment of like taking agency over what you can take agency over, giving somebody else permission to carry that mantle and shine that light and bring the pieces of a creative process to other walks of their own creative journey, even when they may not be together. And that was a nice reminder that was, that's a possibility too. So all that to say that the first audiobook experience I had was like, I was kind of overwhelmed by it all, and it was a little intense. And obviously the industry changed a fair amount since I got back into it as well. So
that's what I was going to say. It must have been completely different.
Tom Pelfrey. Thank you, Liz. Liz Kitzgrim dropped the name in there.
Yeah, I was going to say it must have been completely different as opposed to the way you record now, so the way you recorded back then.
Yeah, there was a director. We were in some house studio in the valley. It was a scene. It was a strange couple of days. I think my favorite voiceover gig. I know my favorite voiceover gig of all time is I did an episode of the Superman animated series.
Okay.
And I got to call Superman a dork, and I was like, this is great. This is awesome.
How old were you when you did that?
I don't know. Probably also around 12, 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there.
The age where we're cool to call him a dork, yes.
I stopped acting when I got to high school, actually. And I started taking sports very seriously. And my parents were like, listen, we're not going to like push you one way or the other, but you can't do both of these things. You either have to be available after school to audition, or you have to go to practice after school, in which case, like, you can't be repped and you just can't do both. And
Yeah.
I think it's a huge credit to my parents. I was a working actor. Like, I was making money. I was building a career, and that wasn't what I wanted to do when I was 14. I wanted to play soccer and baseball. And I said, that's what I want to do. And they were very gracious about it. I don't know how much they really wanted me to go the other way on that, but I really appreciate them making space for me to be as autonomous as a 14-year-old can and should be.
Yeah. So what made you want to go back to acting then?
The first answer actually is a girl.
Oh.
Yeah. I I had a girlfriend in high school, and she was stage managing the fall play. And I had played 2 years of football, and instead of getting bigger, I actually ended up getting small. Like, I lost a lot of weight playing football, and really kind of slimmed down. And I was like, yeah, I'm not playing varsity football. I was also the starting varsity goalie for the soccer team, so I wouldn't have been able to play into the playoffs anyway. In Southern California, the seasons are different for sports. For anybody listening to this that's like, how did you play those three sports? They play football in the fall, like everybody does. Soccer, you get to play in the winter because it's never cold. And then baseball in the spring. And then I would alternate baseball and soccer over the summers. And so, yeah, so it was junior year. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to play football again. I'm going to hurt myself. I could have been the kicker. I was the kicker as well, but I was like, yeah, it's not enough to warrant all the time and energy put into it. And my girlfriend was the stage manager for the play. And I was like, I used to act. I'm sure I could be on a stage too. That would be fine. And so I auditioned. They were doing the Scottish play. I was one of the Thanes. I believe I was Lennox. I know for a fact I was Lennox. And what I was particularly interested in, and one of the reasons I was cast, is that they were using actual broadswords. And I got to do some legit fighting. I was like, this is pretty great. Fighting with swords, and I'm hanging out with, girls too. This is good. So it was, that was the first salvo into that.
Mm-hmm. The rest is history. Yeah.
It kind of is. I mean, yeah, I kept with it. I continued doing shows. I was the lead in the show the following year, my senior year. I joined the theater company. I helped organize and orchestrate an evening of absurdist one acts, and then went off to college where my dad would eventually teach and I would study, and yeah.
Love it. Love it. Well, that kind of segues into my next question. You left California after high school to study and travel abroad briefly, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I left to go to college.
Yeah. But did you?
All those other things also happened.
Yeah, but I remember in Alive where you said that you had gone and lived life basically in Europe and stuff like that for a while. Did you go do stuff like that, or no? Am I completely off?
Yeah, no, yes, I did. Yes, I did that as well.
Yeah. So what did you learn in your time, kind of like going and living life? How was that? Taking time for yourself and.
I have very exciting news. I am still
living life.
and perhaps even more importantly, I am still learning. And I am still loving every second of it. So I think I love to travel. I love to be moving. I have a very active mind and a very active body, and I just like to be in motion. And I love meeting people. I feed off of the energy of other energies, and I love getting to hear and know people's stories. And one of the things that I had anticipated learning about when I traveled abroad was about other cultures. And I found that having stepped outside of the world that I had been a part of for so long, it actually gave me more of an opportunity to understand where I came from. Mm-hmm. And the cultural expectations, the norms that we take for granted because they are what they are. If you have any sort of habituated behavior in your life, if anything was just sort of the way you did a thing, until somebody shows you there's another way to do it, you just don't think about the fact that there are alternatives for most things in your life. You just kind of continue doing it that way. That's actually why I think just college in general is such a very alive place to be, and such an opening experience for so many people, because most people have been under somebody else's care up until that point. So there's been people who've been in charge of giving you those habituated behaviors, teaching you lessons about living, suggestions about how best to live your life, how to fill your day, who to read, what to listen to, all these kinds of things. And then you go to college, and then everybody there is just like, okay, your turn now.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead, figure it out.
Yeah.
Read something. What do you like? Listen to something. Who excites you? And you're like, what? What? Really? Oh, yeah, okay. Yes, great. So that was compounded by being, I think, at that age and then getting a chance to be in a totally different place. So,
Yeah. The world is I mean, even the United States, you go from the West Coast to the East Coast and people live completely differently. You get a good understanding of people just being on one coast to the next, and their values and their traditions and the way that they live life is completely what they considered normal, as opposed to what I considered normal in California. Traveling across the country and then coming to Kentucky, it's completely different. And you have a respect for the people, and some people don't. But I don't know where I'm going with that. Basically, just to say that, yeah, I agree with you, and I love everything that you just said. We'll leave it at that.
okay.
Okay. So I did also see in my research into your past that you have performed on stages all over the world. Is that true?
That is true.
All right. So including stages maybe in Ireland, Scotland, I have Israel.
Those are all correct.
Oh.
Yeah, I've performed in Ireland, yeah, Israel, Scotland, Serbia. I performed two shows in Belgrade. It's a pretty wild experience. And yeah.
So which was your
And then
favorite?
all over. The show that I did in Ireland traveled. It was like based at a theater in Cork, and then it moved to Belgrade, and that was a pretty special experience. And yeah, so that one was, I think, yeah, that was a fun one. The ovations after the shows in Serbia were the most energetic and longest ovations that I have ever received or been a part of the reception for of a show since the very first play that I was a lead in, actually. So It was a lot of fun. It was a very cool place to do the theater.
Yeah. Well, I also have here, when you were in college, you dabbled in stand-up comedy and you had an improv group.
We did more than dabble.
You did more than dabble.
So, actually, my introduction to stand-up is kind of funny. It's a good story. So the improv came first. When I was getting my master's degree, master's candidates have to do work for the department in some form or another. We had like a children's troupe that you could join, or there were like certain professors that needed additional help. You could teach extra classes. And then there was something called studio theater, which is a student-run season, and somebody from the master's program has to run it. And I was like, please, I would like to do that. So for the 2 years that I was eligible, I ran studio theater. I was concerned that college students, given an opportunity to mount a show in a space for a weekend, could potentially fall victim to getting in over their heads and being a bit overwhelmed. And then we wouldn't have anything to present in the weekends where I had the theater. And I think of the theater as a very sacred space, and any opportunity to perform and fill it with people and energy is one that I do not take lightly. And I wanted to have something in my back pocket just as a sort of like fail safe in case that ever happened. And I would also point out, it never did happen, actually. So I put up a fucking flyer in the theater bulletin board. It was like, holding open auditions for an improv troupe. Come to the theater and try out. And I put a group together. We ended up doing a show. One of the guys that worked for the SGA was there, and he came up to me afterward. He's like, "You guys are really good." I was like, "Awesome, dude. This is the first time we did a show." He was like, "Do you want to perform for like the whole school?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm around the SGA. I can do like a student government sponsored event and get you guys in the biggest theater on campus." I was like, yeah, okay." So we did that. It went extremely well. And then we started doing shows around town, and we had regularly scheduled gigs. I'd never managed anything in my life. I was literally making this up as I went along. So we started working with the like best comedy club in town. And this is good. This is a good story. So I didn't know if we should be getting paid. Like the guy that ran the club was like, I want to bring you guys in. I'm going to give you a monthly gig. You guys are going to be our, in-house improv troupe, and you'll do a monthly show here and we'll see how it goes. And I knew that we were packing houses. So I was like, okay, like that sounds awesome. I definitely want the cred and the ability to work in the space. It is the best place to do comedy in town. Then I say that because like, the room is set up. Comedy rooms are set up for that environment. Like the waiters know how to be very quiet. People are given drinks, but nobody's really like distracting. The stage and the lighting are very minimal, and it's just sort of right there and focused in that space. And it's always the right size. So yeah, so I was like, okay, yeah, I would love to do that. So let me get with the team and just kind of figure out, the logistics and all this stuff. And I had no frame of reference for like what we were worth. Do we get an upfront fee? Do we get a percentage of the door? Some combination of the two? I had no idea. Would you like to know what I did?
What did you do? What did you do?
I knew that there was a comedy club in a hotel at the place where I went to undergrad, which was far enough away that I didn't think that this booking agent and comedy club director would know about, but close enough that it would be reasonable to get some information about potentially booking comics into that space. So I called him and pretended to be the booking manager for this club. And I was like, I'm an improv guy, direct improv. I know what I'm doing. I've got this. So I don't know why I did not have this situated at the outset, but he asked me my name at the beginning of the conversation. Lord. And I said, with the straightest face I possibly could, that my name was Don Johnson.
Oh my God.
And he said, like, the guy from Miami Vice? I mean, I was like, I'm not the same Don Johnson, but boy, I got lucky with my name, didn't I?
Oh, my Lord.
So, yeah. So my first nickname before I bequeathed myself Boxcar was Don Johnson.
So how'd the phone call go? Did he give you the information?
It went great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got me the information. So I waited 2 days and then I called him back and I said, hey, my troupe's ready to make a move. We'd like $500 up front and 50% of the door. And he said, great. See you guys next week.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. That's a great story. It's a great story.
Yeah.
So like, moving forward,
I didn't even, what's crazy about that? I told you that entire story, which was a good story. I didn't even tell you the stand-up, how I got started as a stand-up story. So we can move on from this.
Well, no, I mean, I'm here for the other story too, but.
All right, this one's quicker. This one's quicker. So he was like, so shows were going really well there. And then he was like, listen, I'd love to book you guys for an additional show every month. And also, if you want to do some crowd work and help like promote your shows, I really love your energy when you host your shows. And if you want to host a weekend, I'd love to bring you on as the MC. So I was like, great, of course. I want to do everything I can to hype the troupe and do what I can. And so I went to the club the weekend before. I hadn't gone to a lot of stand-up in my life. So I went to the club the weekend before and I sat in the booth with the tech guy that we knew very well. And I'm watching and the MC comes out and does 10 minutes of stand-up. And I looked at the guy, I think Josh was his name. And I said, am I doing that next week? He's like, yeah, you're in the MC. I was like, I don't have 10 minutes of fucking material. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, I just do crazy. Like, you make jokes all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm just doing crowd work. He's like, oh, you're very good at crowd work. I'm like, great, but I can't do that for 10 minutes for 4 shows a night for 4 days.
Oh, wow.
He's like, yeah, no, that would be a lot. And he's like, well, you have a week. I was like, I got to write 10 minutes of stand-up in a week? So I wrote 5 minutes of stand-up and a song. And I opened every show with 5 minutes of stand-up and a song that I'd written and performed. So,
that's a good story too. I like that story.
So that was my start in stand-up there.
And stand-up. And improv. So how would you say that improv is important to an actor and say that you still use it today then, coming from that?
I think improv has seen a great deal of success, not simply as a tool in an actor's toolbox, but simply in a person's development and growth. A lot of improv houses actually sustain their company through corporate training and educational outreach. I actually used to, when I was getting my master's degree, I taught acting for non-majors. And the my like opening pitch for the class the first day was, listen, I'm aware that many of you, if not all of you, are in this class that have very limited interest in pursuing a career in the arts, certainly not specifically in becoming an actor. This is, after all, acting for non-majors. What I will tell you is that there are a set of skills that I can help you work on while we are together in this space that I do believe will serve you well no matter what path you choose to go down in life. Because whatever it is that you choose to do, your ability to sell yourself and to sell an idea that you have is going to propel you to the front of every room that you are in, whether that is in finance or medicine or education. Your ability to be present and show up for yourself in the best way possible is going to serve you well. And those are the skills and the tools that I can teach you in here. That's the kind of thing that we're going to be looking at as we look at each other's work. And those are the things that you can take with you wherever you go. Improv feeds the same kind of tool set and grows confidence. It allows us a moment to dance in a space of extreme vulnerability and inevitably come out the other side having been hardened and alleviated by the experience. And all of that, I think, serves everybody well, regardless of what you choose to do and how you spend your time.
I love that. That's wow. No words. No, seriously, that's the way you put that together. Everyone can. And just even, the way you project yourself and put yourself forward. Sorry, speechless there for a second. Okay, so moving on to my next question, since I have no words after that one. So you've done acting, obviously a voice artist, storytelling. Your career spans various genres and media roles on stage, TV, film, audiobooks. You have over 700 titles. Which genre and media outlet is your favorite to perform in and why?
Whichever one I'm doing that day.
Oh, okay. You
I'm
don't lean
fully
one or the other?
No. I'm fully present in every experience and in every moment. My dad was a big sci-fi reader, and I, as a kid, there was just nothing that appealed to me about science fiction. And we were talking one day, and then I sort of picked up on his passion for it, and I was like, I respect my dad. There's got to be something here that I just haven't tapped into yet, or that some corner here that I haven't found. And I forget what it was. It was definitely a movie. It wasn't a book, but I think it was either The Running Man or Children of Men. It was some sort of dystopian kind of sci-fi landscape, or maybe even The Terminator, where I realized the potential of that genre to use a really stylized and fictionalized landscape to speak at the truths of how we live and who we are today. And then I realized that that is just kind of art, full stop. And any opportunity I get to explore or ask questions or navigate and journey inside of any space where there are strictures based on genre or style is just a new opportunity for me to find those fundamental truths about the human condition or my own truth inside of that moment or inside of that box. And what I think is great about rules when it comes to art is that it gives you that opportunity to figure out how to solve for yourself inside of those limitations.
Love it. As Nikki said in the chat, she says you throw yourself into everything you do with your entire being, and I concur. I definitely agree. So,
thank you.
Another speechless for me. I have nothing to say after that. You're also a philanthropist, though. You've donated lots of hours, money, services to organizations such as the Trevor Project, Lift for Autism, RAIN. I cannot pronounce this one, so you're going to have to help me with this. Queervox?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Cool.
You did it.
Oh, awesome.
Good job.
So why is giving back important to you? Why is philanthropy work important to you?
I think that there are plenty of ways to show up for other people. And I think that to say earlier that I really appreciate the energy I receive from engaging with others, from traveling and being a part of different cultures. To walk that line of thinking out, to build it out, one of the things you do in philosophy is if you have an idea, you apply it to the specific issue that you believe it pertains to, and then you figure out what the root is that you believe in. What is the truth? What is the driving force in this moment, in this example? Then you pull that out and apply it to every other thing you possibly can think of and figure out if you've found a really great rule or a mode of living, because that truth should then, or that rule should then apply equally and effectively to all these other spaces and modes of living in life. I have no preconceived notions, judgments, or ideas about any human being that I have ever met in my life. I have never sat in judgment of another human being based on any one thing that they told me about themselves, whether that is some identifying characteristic as profound as their religion or their sexual orientation or their gender, or something as ludicrous and silly as their sports affiliations. In fact, I'm more inclined to say that, like, I will hate an Astros fan before I, but I, of course, fundamentally do not. And actually, as I say this out loud, really don't like Astros fans. um, I so I just think that if the means are available, if the energy is there, spending that time and energy to lift up others and to connect and engage with others and to stand with people who have, for whatever reason, not had the support of communities is a valuable and important use of our time. And for me, time is really the driving factor. I am really grateful to have the career that I have, to be able to get to tell stories, and having worked so many odd jobs and serving gigs and various other, like, call centers and all this other stuff, like, in pursuit of my passion, in pursuit of the thing I believed I was really good at. I know that a combination of that discipline and determination and luck and some champions along the way are the part of the recipe that makes it happen. And so if I'm able to share my resources or the things I've learned along the way, particularly as it may help other folks navigate in this space in particular, that's really great. And I don't necessarily think of that as, like, full on philanthropy, but even something as simple as, I was doing an interview with James Cassidy the other day, who said that he ran into me after a workshop we did together and asked me some questions, and then followed up with an email, and I wrote him a response that helped him begin on this journey for himself. And to me, that's time and energy well spent. There's two places in Los Angeles where there are statues of Jackie Robinson. One of them is at UCLA, where the baseball field is named for him, and one of them is in, I think, the left field pavilion at Dodger Stadium, maybe the reserve level entrance. And the plaque on both of them reads, "The value of a life is measured in the impact you have on others' lives." And I walked through the tunnel that had that quote on it at Jackie Robinson Field at UCLA for many, many years. And I've walked past that statue at Dodger Stadium for many, many years. And I think it's stuck. So.
Yeah. That segues into my next question. You're a coach and mentor for some people who want to start off in voice acting and everything like that. So giving back to your colleagues obviously is an integral part, and if I could speak, integral part of your journey as an actor. I guess for all the reasons exactly like you just said, just to give back and help and give a hand up. And so I guess there was no point in me asking that question. I was trying to segue smoothly and it didn't really happen.
I think we're all given a series of opportunities, and we all make choices along the way. And when I've been given an opportunity to make a choice to say yes to somebody else's career, to somebody else's hard work and discipline and determination, and they have been willing and ready to receive some thoughts and guidance on how that might help elevate and navigate them into some new space in their own lives, that's something that's something I really treasure and really relish. I want to be as intentional with that as I can be. And to the extent that I have been able to do that, I certainly do not take credit for anybody's career. And I also derive a great deal of joy in watching folks who I've had a chance to work with shine. And every time I see their name pop up, it's a great joy. And for some of them who've reached out in various ways to acknowledge or indicate that they believe I've had some hand in changing their life in some positive way, I receive that with a great deal of gratitude and humility.
Love it. Let's talk about the Audio Addict, because I know that the audience is pretty much full of it. You created the Audio Addict, was it in 2021, roughly?
I thought you were the one that did all the research.
Hey now.
I do not know.
I don't know either. I saw something that said it was like about 3 years so ago. So I was like, okay, maybe 2021, I'm guessing. I don't know. So let's just say, okay, 2021, during the height of the pandemic, basically, when we were all kind of secluded. The space serves as for an extent of your philosophy and to show that people matter and demonstrate that stories can change lives. So what was the importance to you of building the community, especially during a time like the pandemic when we were all isolated? You created a space where we could all come together, and that's beautiful.
I didn't know what I was doing. So let's start there. I knew one thing. I wanted to start taking ownership over my voice and financially incentivizing my own career and my own hard work in a way that voice acting alone, generally speaking, in this subset of the industry in particular, can be very hard to do. That I have been able to find my voice inside of that space and be the most authentic version of myself as a creator and an artist and a storyteller is an amazing byproduct of betting on myself and taking that chance. And eventually, over time, finding a way to surround myself with really good people, offering me the kind of advice and the kind of encouragement and support to really help me navigate what the potential of what I started to make and build is, and how I can best view myself inside of that lens to navigate it toward a place where it can be the best version of itself. The community element that sort of built up around it was apparent to me from the outset, and something that I have tried to find the best ways to foster. And one of the most incredibly powerful parts of the Audio Addict today is that in many ways, my best way of fostering that sense of community is by allowing that community to be its own entity. I am a part of the Audio Addict community. I am no special person inside of this entirely special space there. And we've set the community up in a way that I think really honors that credo, that the community is something I am a part of. The creator is something that I do that is a section of what that entire experience is now all about. And I'm really grateful that we have found the footing that we've had. And again, knowing that I wanted to celebrate the community. As an example, if you've been around really early on, one of my first ideas for highlighting the community and celebrating those folks that were there was something called Treasures in the Attic. I asked folks to provide some details about themselves, and then did a short kind of audio about all the folks, just kind of let people know. Well, that, while very well intentioned, ended up being a massive energy drain for me. It was a huge amount of effort. It was a ton of time.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening is that in these other spaces, I wasn't able to create, I wasn't able to focus on the reason a lot of the folks were there. And it was getting very individualized, and it was very, it wasn't feeding the right kind of community energy. Again, well-intentioned, very challenging to execute, and perhaps not thought out with all of the possible ramifications and end results in mind. And that is whereas, as an example of something else from very early on that worked tremendously well, were the mantras. So the first 52 weeks in the Audio Attic, I wanted to create art that matter to me as a whole artist, and to think and feel and do the way I have had my whole life lead me into this moment. And one of them was my background in philosophy. I have read a lot of fucking books. I have had a lot of incredible conversations with some incredibly brilliant minds from all over the world. And I have done the best I can to absorb pieces of those stories and those moments. And I have had ideas. And some of my favorite writing is aphorisms of Nietzsche and Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which are just this, it's like a whole book of like just bullet points, just like rules after rules. And I used to love reading them and still do. Leibniz and Spinoza writes these books that are just these, they're numbered. They're like proofs. They're like, here's an idea. Here's a sentence. That I believe to be true. And the amount of time and care that these thinkers put into crafting those sentences, I think exists in the same kind of stratosphere. It's one of the reasons I love the poetry of Emily Dickinson, for example. Those are some short poems that pack an unbelievable punch. That human being has managed to distill so much truth about the human condition into so few words. And I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could create original ideas for a year. And we did it. And there's 52 of them, and they exist and they live and they breathe. And there's something that I have been revisiting and thinking about with my creative team to figure out how we can continue to grow and build on those. And every Monday in the Audio Attic from that first Monday has included a piece of content that is a nod to, and in some sort of similar vein, about setting a sort of intention for the week, reflecting on somebody's insightful words and taking a moment to read them, share ideas about them, and create a space where others can engage and do the same. And actually just this last week, 2 days ago, it was one of the first times I saw there's one person in particular that spent a great deal of time reading everybody else's comments and responding to them. And I was like, ooh, this could be the start of this next iteration of what these Mondays could look like in here. It was very exciting to see that kind of engagement, because I see so many people pour unbelievable thought and care into their reflections. And I get more excited again when the community fans its own flames and fosters its own growth by feeding each other energetic oxygen.
I love it. Well, you've built a beautiful community, and I think I speak for everyone here. You have an incredibly talented and beautiful mind as well. So all of your reading and philosophy and everything is, I think, a big draw for everyone who's in your community, including myself. I love to hear the Cup of Joes and the mantras and everything. It's like candy to me. So I love it.
I'll take some credit for the mind, although I won't even take exclusive credit for that, and I won't take much credit for the community. That's a we, not a me, in a very serious way. I believe, I agree with you, and I would just say that we have created an incredible community.
Yeah, it's if people aren't there, they're missing out. That's for damn sure.
I mean, have you seen the Craftsman's? I can't. Just try and get me to make I tried to do there's pumpkin carving, there's crocheting, there's poetry. It's all, I'm just really happy to be there.
You're a great segue person, because that was my next question for you, is that your career includes narration, writing, and music. We haven't even touched on your music, but do you do any kind of 3D art? Do you draw, paint, or dabble in pottery or anything like that as far as the arts go?
I would like to paint. I am not, generally speaking, very adept with my hands in a visual artistic medium. My drawing skills are, I would call them rudimentary. And I did take a ceramics class in high school, and I thought it was fine. I took stained glass, thought that was kind of zen and nice, but that's really just like using the little wheelie thing to cut the glass to the pieces. It's like, it's like a coloring book with glass.
Too. Yeah.
At least at the level that I was doing it, which was nice, but
the soldering never turns out right. It's always blotchy, and at least it was for me when I did it. It wasn't. Yeah. It's a mess, but it's fun. I was just curious because you do a lot. I'm the same way. I can't draw to save my life. I'm like stick figures. I can write a book, but I can't. If someone wanted me to paint a picture, I would love to. My daughter can paint, and it's beautiful, but my mind, I don't know, it can't compute how to go there and make it. So I appreciate art. I like to go to art galleries and appreciate art and wish I could, but it's just not in me.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I don't know. We each get like our different artistic powers in life. Mine was obviously in the creative word, not the creation of 3D objects. So let's talk about Grimm. I just finished listening to Grimm. It is an amazing book. I loved it. I loved the audiobook. It was fabulous. I loved all the soundscaping you did. Everyone was cast so beautifully and perfectly. Can you tell me, this is something I've always wondered as an author, how do you co-write? What is the co-writing process like?
I think it's probably unique for
Everyone.
every two minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. My actually come from a family of collaborative writers, and it works differently depending on the personalities, proclivities, and predilections of the two minds set to the enterprise, I think. In this case, with the amount of world building and the intricacies of the storytelling that we felt were really critical, it was a very slow build. The process took the time it needed to take. And I think that the final product was really well served by that approach. As this is one of many hats that I wear, I do have a certain level of creative freedom that I think some folks that write inside of this space, this genre in particular, and the indie romance writing space don't necessarily have, which is that like there's a financial and growth incentive to continue to create. To churn out a certain number of books every year is one of the key ingredients for a recipe of like long-term success in the industry. And with this one, it was nice to be able to get started in this space that just says like, hey, nobody knows we're doing this right now. Let's see what it could look like and go from there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it had a very back and forth and collaborative dynamic from start to finish.
So from just an author's mind, I'm trying to so how do you write a little bit and then your co-author comes in and writes a little bit, or someone handles dialogue, someone else handles coming in, and this is my brain trying to pick apart it analytically, how it would work? Does someone write a chapter and then the other one comes in and kind of like goes through it too? I mean, I guess all could work, right? And I'm pretty sure that's the answer you're probably going to give me. But what kind of was your process with writing this book?
I mean, we both ended up going over all of it.
Mhm.
It was, I would call this a very redundant writing partnership. And there were only one or two times where I was like, okay, like DJ will have written like a first draft of a chunk. And I'm like, okay, can you pause here and work on some of the thing that you want to write so I can get caught up so that we don't get too far down the story path or too into the, like what we're learning about these characters without me having had a chance to really spend some time sitting with it. And with all the hats that I wear, there were moments where that wouldn't necessarily happen. And then there were other times where the reverse was true. For whatever reason, I would catch a window or DJ would have other things going on, whether it was a release of a book or whatever. And so then there'd be a chunk where I was like, okay, hey, I did this little section. I'm going to pause here and make sure that you've gotten a chance to kind of get where you need to with that so that I feel comfortable that if I move forward from here, we're moving forward together. So we're not wasting energy or removing one of our voices from the product.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. My brain just tries to, it's always kind of when I see people do co-writes, it's always tried to wrap itself around, like, how does that actually happen? How do you go about it?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing that's fascinating is what I've seen and what some folks, it's been pretty amazing to see like some of the assumptions that people make about sections they believe I might have written or that DJ's written, and like the frequency with which those people have been just so very wrong. I don't really even like to necessarily play the like, I wrote this, you wrote this game, because first of all, some of it we don't even remember because you just start writing, and sometimes like I think of like one of the scenes I'm the most proud of. I feel like I really kind of gelled a version of it, but I did not write the first draft of it. So like DJ sort of gave me an invitation and said, here is a scene I think should be in this book. And I read it. I had a chance to look at it. And I had a partner brave enough to say, here is my attempt at this moment. I am also willing to hear what you think about it. And I took it and I sent it back to her. I said, hey, I rewrote this thing that you wrote. I still have your draft. Let me know. I did take it. It's the same people, it's the same scene, but I took it in a different direction. And she called me crying. She was like, this is it. This is it. this is the draft that we're going to move forward with. And so there was a lot of moments like that. That's when I think it gets silly to be like, I did this and I did that. We agreed at the outset we were doing this together, and the energy feeds off of one another, and this is the story that we told.
Yeah, exactly. You feed off of each other and just create. And that's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
So the audiobook was multicast. How did you go about picking your cast? Did you already have it kind of in mind as you were writing the book, or did some come into play afterwards?
I didn't do it.
Oh, okay.
Blue Nose Audio, Blue Nose Publishing took this story and said that they wanted to put this together in this mode. And DJ and I said, great. So DJ and I are the authors of this story, and they came to us and said, here are the people that we believe are best suited to play these roles.
Oh.
We gave them our suggestions. We had some thoughts. Some of them are the people that were cast. Others are not. Some roles were requested. Others were auditioned. They ran the gamut, and I can take very little credit.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, it was perfectly cast. I loved it. I loved all the side characters, especially Fate.
They're very good over there in that casting department.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So the audiobook was also soundscaped and includes original score music in parts of the book. Why did you decide to put that into there? And tell me the creative process. I know I saw where you said sometimes where you had to create some of the sounds yourself. I think someone had said. Now this, I don't know if I'm correct, but how did that process happen?
That was an example of art creating art and giving people permission to use their whole chest when they collaborate with you is one of the most exciting things that I've ever got to do. And this goes back to my improv roots. I hosted our shows, and I very rarely performed in the scenes. And I was the MC, so I would run the shows, and people would come up to me afterward and like, why don't you do any of the games? Why aren't you in any of the scenes? I was like, well, first of all, I'm in the whole show because I'm the one in between everything interacting with you. And second of all, I trust these people and I love them and I love working with them. And my keeping myself out of that particular space gives me permission and the ability to do something in our rehearsal room that I wouldn't be able to do if I was also in these scenes with them. So if I can shift that dynamic and create an opportunity for them to create challenges, to ask them if they're brave enough to step into the bigger version of themselves, to try something new, then that's really great. And I had worked with Jake Morris at Wine Mom Records on my EP, and they are a wonderful collaborator and such an incredibly empathetic and creative spirit, and really spent so much time in between the sessions and the moments, like really trying to figure out how their art could be a part of my voice and really figuring out where those two kind of fell together. And as this was coming together, they were super excited. And we had a lull since the rest of me kind of got mastered and put together because I was working on this other thing, and they asked for a copy of the book, read it twice, and sent me some initial sketches and some ideas for tracks. Like the first iterations of the original scoring for this thing came from another artist's soul based on their read of the book with very little initial collaboration and discussion from me. Very little.
Wow.
So that's art, making art.
Yeah.
And then you got Ron, who did the post-production work. And Ron, I've worked with many times on various projects throughout my career. And he had been doing the post-production, taking the live records and trying to build in some potential musical elements and some soundscaping elements. And Ron is one of these really selfless creatives where he'll throw his whole creative energy into something, and he's just so ready to have you say, this isn't the direction I think it needs to, like, can we try this? All right, great. Keep this. mute that track and give me something totally different over here. And the speed with which he and I ended up working together in the end to marry and find the balance between some super heavy SFX audio that I'd listened to that I personally find overwhelming and detracting from the story experience, to this mode where the music doesn't need to have a rule. It doesn't always have to be there. The sound effects don't always have to be there. We tried something new, and it was to tell it our way and to do it with our voices in mind. And when I tell you that, I mean, it was like 4 days of Ron and I basically not sleeping, like just sending files back and forth and like listening, and yeah, and just speakers on full blast, and then just my computer speakers, and then just my headphones, and Gage is listening along as well, and we're taking notes and we're compiling them and it's writing time codes down, and then I'm sending all that stuff back to Ron, and then like some things would get fixed and then something else would pop up, and Hugh's just a dynamo. And then the pieces that Jake and I had put together, there were a few moments in the story where they just like the final version that was made, I literally, without having even talked to Ron yet, I took the tracks that Jake and I had put together, and I was like, okay, this one is really kind of like roosty. And I was like, what if I played that for this moment? And I literally opened the chapter file in Pro Tools, and I dragged the song in and I plopped it down. Just plops down right around where I thought it was going to fit. And I was sobbing at the end. The like, it was perfect. I wrote the time code down immediately. I didn't move it at all.
Yeah.
And that ended up happening like 2 or 3 other times, almost exactly right on, or like so very close. And almost every time the actual length of the track that was made without having listened to the audio at all, just fit perfectly right into just every time. It was wild. So
I love that. Those are beautiful moments. I love those moments when art comes together perfectly like that. I loved it. I thought it was great. I have listened to other audiobooks like that, exactly like you said, where it's a little too much, or it's the music is overpowering, or whatever the case may be. But I think you guys did it beautifully, and I thoroughly enjoyed the listen. So
I want to say this too, like to each their own. I don't want anything that I said there to read it all as though I am disparaging anyone else's way of doing it. But what I've learned is that the work is the best when I do it the way I think it should be done. And when I have found creative partners like Jake and Jamie and the team at Blue Nose and the Joe team, who like everyone just works so hard to tell the stories the way we think stories should be told. And I've listened to Rick Rubin's book on creation and creativity, and he says the audience comes last. The audience comes last. He said this wonderful passage in there where he talks about why so many blockbuster films just kind of fall flat, and why so many like Hollywood franchises just like don't resonate. They don't work. They don't stick with us. They're not the stories we retain and carry with us. And the reason is that they are made from the outset to be sold. They are made with the audience in mind. The point is making something that they think someone else would like.
Yeah.
And that's not art. That's commerce.
Yeah. I heard you say that the other night in a live too. And when you said that, I was like, damn.
And so this was after, and I remember when we started down this path with Ron and with Jake, and I started doing research. I started listening to books, some very famous, very popular stories that are being told with various levels of soundscaping and effects and Dolby Atmos this and soundtracks here, this and all. And I started listening and consuming and taking it in and getting a sense of what I thought worked and didn't work, and eventually positioned ourselves into a space where I landed on trusting what we thought sounded great to us. And I was like, you know what? It's not all or nothing. It really is. It's this. It's this.
It was beautiful. I loved it. You did a great job. I love the way you created it. So can you tell us how Grimm ties, you don't have to give away too much and you can tell me absolutely no answer, but how does Grimm kind of tie into your second My Soul to Take tour in New Orleans?
Well, it will tie in numerous ways, not the least of which is that several members of the creative team will be there to share in the joy of the experience. It They tie in thematically because My Soul to Take Undead this year is really a reflection on mortality and any of our possible roads toward immortality. And Grimm is a story that very much acknowledges, honors, and celebrates our finite days and times. So both, I think, at their core are a frank reminder that it's okay to acknowledge that our time is limited. In fact, it's more than okay. We should, so we can make the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
And both of these stories, the book and the show, seek to approach and engage, tackle some of those themes and ideas in some very different and some fairly similar ways. So I'm excited to share it. Very excited after another really amazing creative day in the MSTT build space. So
Yeah, you're doing you're not auditions, you're doing rehearsals right now for it, correct?
yeah.
Yeah. So you're all in, and you just came back from a trip to New Orleans too this last weekend, I saw.
And I was there. I will say there's two things. One, that there's something that just keeps calling me back to that city. It's a
All of
pretty
that
great
city.
place.
Yes.
And yeah, there were some really important elements to kind of solve for and some pieces to answer. And I'm very hands-on in the creative process. And I was very grateful to get to kind of have one more trip around the city and walk through the space and really dial in where we needed to be.
I'm looking forward to it. I love that. New Orleans is one of my favorite cities in the whole nation. There's just something about that town. It's probably the voodoo, but so for those of us who attended the first tour last year, what can we expect differences between the first tour and this tour, besides the obvious that it's all in one city?
Well, it's an entirely different show.
Yeah, that's true. Huh?
I mean, you may find some structural elements that would be good for, like, a side-by-side comparison, or like a here that I think you'll be able to sort of pull and draw from and see. But it's an entirely different show. Like, I'm playing a different character. I'm working with different pieces. I'm working with different guidelines and parameters. This is a much larger venue, and I am attempting to be more intimate in a larger space with more honesty and intentionality than before. And I'm extremely proud of My Soul to Take Untethered. Extremely proud. And I am hopeful that I've helped build something that will be something I am even more proud of in a couple weeks' time.
Oh, I think absolutely. I can't wait to experience it. I'm excited that I get to be there for both shows this time. So I get the full experience, and that's going to be fun.
I'm thrilled you'll be there.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah. And you're also performing at a voodoo festival on Friday.
Correct. Yeah, I'll be reading a couple short pieces from, well, I won't give too much away there, but
No.
I'm going to hang out there for as much time as I am able to commit myself to. I hope I encourage other people to spend as much time there as they're able to, which I hope is even more time than I can spend there, because I think that learning about the people, the places, the culture, and the ideas when you travel is what makes us better, more interesting human beings. So.
Oh, I'm excited for the Voodoo Festival. When that was announced that was a thing, I was like, count me in. So I plan on seeing the show, seeing you perform, and also just hanging out for the festival. It sounds like a blast.
Great.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into Losing Neverland. The reason why for all of this, well, not really. There was other reasons for this. It was I wanted to learn about your career and talk to you about Graham because I loved it. But this is kind of like the 1-year anniversary of Well, kind of. We have about 15 days, give or take.
Okay.
So
happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to Losing Neverland. When we touched on it previously in the AUDIOTalk, when we first you were recording it and everything, it was kind of serendipitous with the fact that you had just finished recording J.M. Barrie's Peter and Wendy. And then this kind of came across the desk of, hey, this is a Peter Pan retelling. So what can you tell me? What was your first thoughts when you heard about Losing Neverland?
I do think the timing was, I think your use of the word serendipitous is extremely apt. And that was super compelling from the outset. And I remember thinking, like, there's so much here. I've seen several retellings, some other adaptations and thoughts. And I think one of the things that I found particularly unique was the sort of blending of this one character into all of these characters from the male perspective. That there's a great deal of kind of bleed over between Peter and Pan and Hook. And so I was just really fascinated to see how you approached the psychology of that male-facing perspective and how it interacted then inside of this landscape that is both very juvenile but also very human, and if given the right context, I think plays as it does in Losing Neverland very effectively when targeted for an adult audience.
All right. I love it. Yeah. Some people don't like it. Some people don't like the idea that Peter is Hook and Hook is Peter. But for me, it just worked. My brain was just like, hey, that works. And we're going to try and see if we can go with this. So has the story of Peter Pan held any previous significance in your life prior to taking on the role?
No. I don't even know if don't even know if I had read it or if I'd even seen the Disney thing.
Really?
I have no core memory of Neverland.
Really?
Yeah.
Besides going ahead and basically reading the Jay and Barry's book like a couple weeks before?
Yeah, but as a kid, I had no core memory.
None of it.
It had no foundational impact on myself as a kid. I didn't grow up thinking I am John and hear me. I was like, I think I kind of had a thing. I remember at one point seeing I think there's a Broadway show called, I must not have, it had, what is her name? Keenan Bulge. It was called Starlight. It was called Tinker.
Tinker? Something.
Yeah, I do not, it is not.
It was not a thing for you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I'm glad that it is now. I really love the story. The scene with Peter and Wendy in the shadow, I ended up referencing in my book of poetry. I think there's really beautiful metaphor and the thematic elements of embracing your childhood and never giving up on your imagination and feeding those things that fuel passion and big, bold emotions in us. I just think they're really wonderful life lessons told in a really whimsical way.
Okay. I love it. I don't know why. For some reason, I was like, maybe you liked Peter Pan or something, but it's okay. Well, then you did a great job for not having any previous Peter Pan lovingness as a kid. I grew up watching the movie and loving it. So I always thought when it came time, people always tell me, you should have written a retelling about Beauty and the Beast. Those do better. But that comes back to the whole, like you were saying, that's for commerce. Me, I was like, I loved Peter Pan. I loved the idea of Neverland and never growing up and just all the different whimsical aspects, like you said, that are in Neverland as far as the mermaids and the Indians and, the pirates and all that kind of stuff. So it was just a great place to, exactly like I say, escape to. It's a great escape. But I don't know. Interesting. So did you prep the book in advance, or did you read it in advance, or did you just go in cold when you were performing?
I always prep the books in advance.
Okay. So you read the full thing before you started performing it?
I find that the sweet spot for me is to scan the material.
Okay.
Kind of searching for keywords, key phrases, things pop out as they relate to the background of the characters, the place settings, the time, the energy, the language, use of metaphor, humor. I used to be very, very diligent and would take copious notes. And of some of my first few books, actually, I highlighted all the character lines of different colors and kind of hit this point where I was like, okay, I'm spending too much time prepping. It's not giving me enough time to get into the performance. Also, it then feels like a slog for me because now I've read this book already and I'm reading it again. Yeah. And for me, that was too much time inside of one story.
Yeah.
So I found some really wonderful methods to get all the information that I need from the story without it losing that sense of wonder and that feeling of reading it for the first time, which so many people say about their favorite books. Like, I wish I could go back and read it again for the first time. I want my performances to capture the joy of the first time, while also having enough working knowledge of the story to do it justice, because you need to know who these people are, where they come from, and what motivates them.
I think, as you say that, I think that might be part of the magic of your narration, to be honest, because you can kind of catch that excitement of reading the story is there when I hear you narrate. So I think you have a good system in place because I can hear it in your performance.
Thank you.
So for Losing Neverland, obviously a big spoiler alert, I already said it. Peter and Hook are the same person. What was the process for you for finding the right balance between sort of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of role?
Well, I think the key with any character is to treat each of them as individuals with their own set of goals, dreams, and objectives, and the obstacles that sit in their way, and then solve for all those things. And then when it comes to characterization and finding the voice for those characters, navigating into spaces that give me vocal permission to tap into the similarities, to sort of hint at and build those things in. One of the most challenging things that happens sometimes in the mystery thriller genre a lot is there'll be some unnamed character, right? And there's they meet in a clandestine alleyway and it's the killer or it's the informant or it's that person as the big plot reveal later. They're in the story other places, but we don't know their identity in that moment until later. And sometimes this person is Russian or something. You're if you give the person that accent and that scene, are you revealing that in the audio that the book isn't revealing because they're trying to keep the identity of this person a mystery but the person in the scene knows who they're talking to. So they're you would talk in your normal voice, but we're trying to hide this from the audience. So then what do you do?
Yeah.
So there is that space as well to navigate. But I think in this case, again, we just talked about the fundamental desire to seek out imagination and live in that space. And so Hook's voice is just this really playful attempt to be, the star of your own show and the center of your own universe. And I let that get as big as I wanted to get and trusted that my voice would find its way back to Peter from there.
Yeah. Well, you did a fabulous job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering from the get-go how that was going to work out, but I knew the book was in good hands and you did an amazing performance. I can't rave enough about it. So thank you for performing my words, because I can't think of anyone else who could do it better or should have played the part. So I'm eternally grateful for you for taking on that role.
For the trust. I'm glad it exists.
Yeah, me too. So in most narrations, the books you kind of perform are not based on existing characters that are so well known and loved. Now, we've talked about the fact that you went ahead and had performed Jay and Barry's Peter and Wendy's a couple weeks before. So you kind of had a knowledge of these characters and everything that you performed in that book. And I've listened to your performance in that book, but it varies greatly differently, I would say, from the way that you took on some of the same characters in Losing Neverland. What was your process for portraying characters that people already have established feelings for? Say John or Michael or Tinker. Well, you didn't. I was going to say Tinkerbell, but you didn't do that one. So no, never mind.
So one of the spaces that an actor needs to navigate is the space where art meets commerce. And there is an important moment in the process, I think, where you do need to ask yourself as an actor, who is the audience for this? Particularly if the answer to that question may be children. And I give you an example that is inside of this universe. There's a series, I think it's called, is it Jake and the Neverland Pirates or something?
Yeah.
Right. So I've auditioned for that show several times. The hook that I do in Losing Neverland is a terrible choice for Jake and the Neverland Pirates. Why? It's not that it isn't a compelling hook or an interesting voice.
Yeah, it's not for kids.
It's not for kids.
Yeah.
The people watching that version they would be absolutely terrified hearing that thing. So the key there then is you got to sort of ask on some level, and with a story like this that has crossed generations and age ranges and all these things, what is it? What is the space of that? And I will say, like, one of the things I really liked doing with Alice's Adventures in Wonderland in particular is that I actually didn't do that. I did not think of it as being geared toward a child's audience at all. I told that story the way I would have wanted to tell my friends that story. So there are some moments that, like, I am imagining if like a 5-year-old listening, like, this song is very strange, Mother. I don't know what this guy is doing with his voice. Why is the Mad Hatter so serious? So, I think that's the space in between where you navigate these things. And one of the hardest things about portraying characters that already exist or have had touchstone performances done is to put your own fingerprint on it. And so in that space, you just kind of have to say, it's the same thing you do for every other character. You start at square one and you build out the profile in your head and in your heart of who this person is.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job, and I have listened to your Alice in Wonderland, and I loved those performances too. But Alice in Wonderland is kind of a book that it can be kind of adult, and so I like the way that you portrayed it. It's kind of like that in between. So I thought that was great.
Huh?
So, what character in Losing Neverland did you enjoy voicing the most, and why?
I think I really enjoyed Smee just because it was a nice little. It didn't have a ton of lines, but it was just a very charming little break for me.
Mm-hmm.
Fun little character work. It was a voice I was kind of dialed in on, and yeah, I just was like, oh yay, Smee's in this chapter. All right. Yeah.
So, what was your favorite scene to narrate out of each book?
Is this a spoiler-free situation?
Yeah, go for it.
The Hook's death was just a banger situation for me. It was a ton of fun.
With the in Saving Tink?
Oh yeah, is that I jumped a book here, but
it's okay.
I mean,
it's the one where they're climbing the mountain and
yeah.
You did that ITV and I had goosebumps and tears in my eyes. That was an amazing performance when you did that. But you were riding high off of Shadow Self at that time. Or something I remember with that. And when you did the ITV and you used it, you channeled that energy, and that was a phenomenal performance. So that's I would say that's definitely one of the best chapters by far.
There you go. My favorite wasn't even in the book. It's so good. It's the top one in that book as well.
So while you were working on narrating Losing Neverland, I was literally writing the sequel. Did you have any apprehensions at all towards the fact of, oh, okay, well, I'm narrating this book, but I mean, the other one could come in and be shit, or no? Did you trust the author that was turning in the work?
I mean, I think the fundamental concern when you're working on a series that is still being written is that the author still needs the space to make creative decisions about the characters that voice actors, whether intentional or not, are going to have to solve for while they're working. So that part is really delicate, I guess, would be the best word to describe it. And I think that whenever I then get the manuscript for a series that I've already voiced the characters inside of, I'm always a little anxious to see if the author has done anything to that character that really goes against the character that I've built in an oral landscape.
Okay.
Something as specific as describing their voice in a way that I'm absolutely not already doing. Right? Mm-hmm. There's no reason that you couldn't have said in book 2 that a certain character has a gravelly voice that I had pitched up here. So I'm like, okay, I guess we're gonna slowly walk that down to here. Accents, there's a ton of things and oftentimes authors aren't listening to the previous books, so they're writing their stories, and then it's like, well, really kind of hung me out to dry here because I had to make choices without all the knowledge that I would have needed to make the best choices. So
I can say on the flip side, from an author's perspective, it actually helped and was nice because I kind of saw where you were taking the characters already, and I could channel that into the sequel. And it kind of fueled a couple chapters to where I could already hear you in my head the way that you were already performing. And it almost kind of created some lines that maybe might not have been there just because I was so familiar with the way you were already portraying the world itself. So I think it can work well for an author to hear it already being performed. And if they're listening, like you said, some of them aren't. Some of them are just in their writing cave and closed off. So final question for you about the whole escapism universe. Whose story would you want to see to bring to life next?
whose story do you want to see brought to life next?
God, don't turn this in. No, it's my universe.
Why? I've been answering questions for 90 minutes.
I know, it's very true. I know, you have been. I don't know. I was just like, I know whose story is coming to life next.
Oh, so you already have something written.
I have plotted some things, yes.
Okay, well, now I'm like, what if I say the wrong thing? I mean, I'm going to say Smee, which is definitely not who you're writing a book about, but as we've established, I've got a soft spot for Smee.
Well, now I think Smee needs a story, but no, it will definitely not be Smee. At least not the next one. Actually, I have a thought to take the escapism universe in a completely different direction. So to me, I'm like, we can all escape into a whole bunch of different retellings. It doesn't have to necessarily just be Neverland. So if you look at kind of, do we have it? Can I talk about it? Do we have a second? I don't know if it's spoiler or not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't know either because I don't know what's about to come out of your mouth.
So you could take it into a whole bunch of different perspectives. So I have to say, with everyone kind of wants Hades and Morgan's story next. And I've kind of written a preliminary kind of chapter. I'm squirreling here. But it's not going to be Hades. I feel like you have to stay true to the story of the origin of the people. So for Morgan, it should be Merlin. And so I've actually kind of started creating notes on creating a very like Merlin and Morgan retelling and having an unhinged Merlin and Knights at the Round Table and all that kind of stuff. I figured the escapism universe could be huge. It could be vast. We could go into tons of different retellings and just do tons of different stories. So the next one will probably be Merlin.
Sounds great. It's like a Marvel DC crossover.
I guess maybe, yeah, right? I don't know. Yeah. I might be like taking off, biting off too much more than I can chew, but at least that's the thought process so far and where the notes are flowing.
One word at a time and see what you get.
Exactly, right?
Get through the time.
Yeah. All right. So now we're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna have some fun with you. So this is supposed to be fun. I've told that you don't do this well. People tell me that you can't do rapid fire well. Is that true?
Try me.
All right, let's try it. Okay, so first we're going to do Neverland. So, first question, Peter or Hook?
Hook.
Oh, well, you're off to a great start there.
You're taking a lot. Look at this.
There you go. So, Wendy or Tinkerbell?
Tinkerbell.
Oh, okay. Cannibal Cove or Mermaid Lagoon?
That's going to have to be the Lagoon.
Okay. Would you rather fly or do sword fighting?
Interestingly enough, I'm going to choose sword fighting.
Okay.
For all the euphemistic reasons that I just previously chose the Lagoon.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, yeah. Okay. Jolly Roger or Hangman's Tree?
My heart wants to say the Jolly Roger, but I'm not really great at sea, so I'll go Hangman's Tree.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with that one. I can get seasick sometimes. Pixie dust or buried treasure?
Buried treasure?
Sorry, that didn't come out.
Hey, me boss, he got some treasure buried in the yard. Get the zone.
I can't, for some reason that word's not coming out. It's late. It's way past my bedtime. The word is not wording right now. So buried treasure. There we go.
Buried. Yeah.
So you'd rather the treasure, not pixie dust?
I didn't even think of the question as like whether or not it was something I wanted to have. I just really kind of stream of consciousness. You said pixie dust or buried treasure, and I just said buried treasure. It just came from the center of me.
All right.
I am in my rapid fire era.
Okay. In this moment, it's the treasure. Got it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So who would win in a fight, do you think, Michael or John?
Michael. Doesn't Michael win in a fight?
Michael dies.
No, not really. Yeah, but wasn't he winning the fight? I mean, I know he died. He winning the fight?
Yeah, he was kind of. Yeah, he came down and he took over, and he was winning there for a moment in time. Yeah, yeah,
That's, I mean,
yeah. Like Marla said, he was badass before he died. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, who would you want for a pet, Nana or crocodile?
Crocodile.
Crocodile. Okay. So, would you rather never grow up or fall in love?
Sorry, ask someone again.
Never grow up or fall in love? Because the whole premise of Losing Neverland, he had to fall in love and fall for Wendy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do I get to be an adult, or is the never growing up never growing up?
Never growing up. You can never grow
Then
up.
I'd have to choose. Then I'd have to choose fall in love.
Okay. London or Neverland? Oh, we're thinking about this.
I mean, I do love a fictional universe, but I gotta say, London is a pretty good city. I go Neverland. How often do you get a choice there? So it would take me a while to get my footing there, but hopefully I figure it out.
Well, I mean, if you didn't, you couldn't go to Mermaid Lagoon or do the sword fighting or Hangman's Tree. So, I think you picked wise.
Unless there was like a Peter Pan theme park somewhere.
Hey
now. Those things.
Hey now, no. You have to go to Neverland for this.
Oh, wait, mateys.
All right.
I don't know how to do the pirates Brits. Ahoy! I think it just sounded Irish there. Anyway,
it's a little crossover. Well, okay. So I'm going to hit you with a general rapid fire. So this is just about you. Okay. So are you mountains or beach?
SoCal, best of both worlds.
Kind of.
Not kind of. They're literally both right there. You can be swimming in the ocean and staring at mountains.
That's very true. It takes about like 2 hours to drive into the mountains, at least, depending on where you're at.
That's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
A lot of people have to drive 2 hours to get to an airport.
That's very true. I am one of those people. So.
All right. Well, we're sitting on the
right?
2 hour drive then.
Okay. So summer or winter?
Summer.
Morning or evening?
Evening.
God, everyone kind of like set me up for this, saying that you'd be really bad at rapid fire, but you're really good at it. This is going to be over in like no time. So city or countryside?
City.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay. How do you take your
That
coffee?
used to be tea.
You
Black.
did?
Yeah. That used to be tea for the longest time.
What changed?
Actually, I just realized I miss my tea era. I used to have like a lot of different kinds of teas, try different style. Like I enjoy it, and I gotta get back to my tea roots.
Tea's good.
Ways.
Yeah. I enjoy both, so I'm right there with you. Hot dogs or hamburgers?
Let's say it's a. I'll limp into hamburgers on that one, I guess.
Limp in. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm not. Those aren't my favorites.
Okay. All right. So are you a Coke?
I end up taking a hot dog and basically turning it into something totally different anyway. Chicago wishes they knew how to put all the things on a hot dog that I put on a hot dog.
Oh.
So.
Well, that comes from Dodger Stadium and Dodger Dogs and all their big stands that you can load all your hot dogs with there.
I've never been anywhere else where you can crank onions onto a piece of meat. But I mean, it's still just it's ketchup, mustard, and then you can crank the relish and you can crank the onions on there. And the secret for anybody that's going is to get actually, if you've read The Chameleon Effect, I believe that I actually have the characters discuss. This is a topic of conversation in this book. The Brooklyn dog is the all beef hot dog. It's my preference.
Okay. All right. So Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, it's neither.
Oh, are you Dr. Pepper?
No, I haven't had a soda, and I do not remember the last time I've had a soda.
Oh, right. So no soda at all.
Love a seltzer water.
Oh,
boy, you can flavor up some bubbly water for me any old way you want.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't drink much soda either, but I stock my fridge full of soda water and San Pellegrino and all that kind of stuff.
If I had to choose, if I'm I think probably once a year. Or here's what I actually do. Don't tell anybody at every Jersey Mike's that I eat at. Every once in a while, I'll just sneak up and grab the tiniest. I'm just I just want to know the essence of Dr. Pepper. Just give me
Wow.
Just 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 a mist of it.
A mist.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. So salty or sweet?
Salty.
Salty. Ice cream or cake?
That's an ice cream cake for me.
Those are hard to beat. Spicy or mild?
Spicy.
Spicy. Phone call or text?
Phone call.
Would you rather have a pet dragon or a pet unicorn?
Unicorn.
Oh, wow. You threw me on a loop with that one. I thought for sure you'd go for the dragon. Time travel or teleportation?
Time travel.
Oh, where would you go?
I'd probably go forward first and then back. First place I'd go is a library.
Ooh.
I wouldn't even use the skills yet. I'd go straight to a library. And I would do much more research. And then I would make some far more informed decisions.
Okay. All right.
I feel like a lot of people will be like, I can time travel. I'm headed to the 1640s. And I'd be like, you know what? I really want to know what's going on then. What am I setting myself up for? I feel like I've gotten used to a lot of conveniences that I'm going to be bereft of. And I really just need to know, I need to have a real clear head on my shoulders here, how best to navigate this. So,
yeah, the diseases and just everything that goes on in those time periods.
The clothes, the food, the words,
It sounds like fun, but once you get there, could be a disaster. So would you rather be invisible or fly?
I think I would have to go with invisible on account of my not being super excited about being super high up without anything under my feet.
Okay. Interesting. Yet you portray Peter Pan who flies. That's okay.
With my feet on the ground.
With your feet on the ground.
All make believe.
I know. Okay.
Heard my Malachi vibes? There's lots of things that I can pretend to do.
Very true. So truth or dare?
Dare.
Dare. Ooh. Okay. So rewind or pause button?
Pause.
Pause. Oh, I like that. Well, we have come to the end of that. You went through that way too quickly. Everyone who told me Joe does horrible at rapid fire. You all are fired yourselves. Like, I would have come up with way more better, longer list of questions for you. But, oh well.
I think you did quite well.
Oh.
I think we did great here.
I think we did too. I think it was fun.
One of the reasons that I think rapid fire is longer when I do it is that I am also answering. So you've got multiple people signing off and weighing in, and I swirled a little bit. I thought through some of those questions.
Just a tiny, tiny normal squirrels, not like big squirrels. So you did good. Yeah.
I'll tell you this story.
Okay.
On our way out, that reminded me of one of those this or that questions. At that very comedy club, we had a show. I think it was 2 days after my brother's birthday, and my brother was pissed at me because he apparently had said to me at some point that all he wanted for his birthday was a mint chocolate chip ice cream cake. And I was not aware of how serious he was. And so I did not get him the mint chocolate chip ice cream cake. And so then the day after his birthday, he was like, "You suck." And I was like, "I am very sorry about that." And he was coming to the show the following night. So I went to the ice cream shop where they make the cakes and they'll customize the tops. And I said, "Hi, yes, I would like one mint chocolate chip ice cream cake, please, of the biggest size you have." And she said that they're all the same size. And I said, "Okay, well, one of those then." And she said, "What do you want it to say?" And I said, "Will you write whatever I ask you to write? I have no intention of using any, are you open?" And she laughed. She's like, "Yeah, I think so." And I said, "Great." I said, "I'm not going to abuse this privilege here. I want to know before I make my request." And she said, "Sure." So I went to the comedy club early, and I went to the kitchen and had them put the thing in the freezer. And at the middle of the show, I had them bring it out. And I acknowledged my brother, and I said, "Hey, bro, I'm very sorry that I didn't get you what you wanted for your birthday. So if you would please come on up here. I hope I've made amends." And got the cake and opened it up. And inside, in the biggest letters they could write on the cake, it said, "Sorry, bro, I'm an asshole."
Oh, Lord.
And he got his cake. We all had with him.
Oh, great story.
There you go.
Yeah, love that.
Oh, ice cream cake.
Thanks.
White choice.
Oh, well, I want to thank you very much. Like I said, when we first started this, I know that you are extremely busy, especially right now. So taking the time to sit down with me, and especially on the 1 year, we didn't get to do this a year ago. So thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. And it was fun being able to chat because me and you we haven't chatted in a very long time. So just thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for the opportunity. Congratulations on the book-iversary, audiobook-iversary, and I wish you the very best in all of your future writing endeavors and creative outpourings. And I'm very excited I'll get to see you and celebrate some stories in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll have a blast in New Orleans. It's going to be great.
Love it.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. And thank you, Joe, again. And I will see you in New Orleans in a few weeks.
Sounds good. Until then.
All right. Bye, everybody.